Well, week 5 truly disappointed us all, didn't it? Welcome, everyone, to Uncut Nonsense. I am your host, Doc Klugman, and this is the show where it just keeps disappointing us week after week, especially if you are a New York Giants fan. Obviously, we are going to be breaking down the week 6 predictions that I have for you this week, and moving forward, we look at last week's stuff. Again, I apologize for the inconsistency and the unable to produce the week 5 predictions, but nonetheless, I still do have my predictions that I did have up there, and I went a total of 7 for 7. And that really was, of course, disappointing. We have shrunk down to, the bare minimum, the bare bones, the 500. The Rams, of course, disappointed me. My New York Giants disappointed me. The Philadelphia Eagles ended up not performing the way I think it did, and Miami Dolphins also dropped the ball when it came to their game against the Carolina Panthers. Also, Buffalo, little surprising, if I'm not gonna lie. Buffalo losing their game by 3 against the New England Patriots in Buffalo. I'm a little upset. I picked a couple of wild card games, Houston getting the very dominant win over Baltimore and Jacksonville taking care of things against the Kansas City Chiefs. And overall, I guess it's not the worst in the world. However, it could be a lot better. Obviously, the bye week going to the Packers, the Bears, the Steelers, and the Falcons. I think out of those 4 teams, the Packers are the team, ironically, that needs the early bye week to recover from the horrendous tie that was in Dallas against the Cowboys. And I think they definitely have something to look forward to in their game upcoming this week against the Cincinnati Bengals, especially with the big trade that ended up happening around the NFL with Joe Flacco from the Cleveland Browns over to the over to the Cincinnati Bengals, and it's definitely going to shake things up, especially when it comes to the AFC North. But let's dive right into it right now. We have the Thursday night football game. You got the Philadelphia Eagles taking on the New York Giants. Giants, again, playing Thursday night. And I'm thrilled because I am a Giants fan, and we're definitely going to be able to see them perform at the level that I hope that they do perform. They disappointed last week, giving the Saints their first win of the season, and it was disappointing to say the least. I ended up picking the Giants because why not? And they ended up absolutely blowing up in front of my face, and it was very, very upsetting to say the least. And the big name of the game when it came to the Giants and Saints game last week was the turnovers. 5 turnovers for the New York Giants, 3 fumbles, and 2 interceptions by Jackson Dart. Ended up being the outlier that ended up basically crippling the Giants to the loss. And the defense, stellar. Stellar for the New York Giants. They ended up stopping them, the Saints, that is, to multiple field goals. They ended up keeping them in the game as long as they were able to. And it ended up at least giving them some hope until it was all loss when the clock hit 0. And then you have the Philadelphia Eagles, big collapse in the second half, specifically the fourth quarter. They played the Denver Broncos, and this was in Philadelphia. And this was a very critical game for the Eagles to make it to that 5-0 status. And they ended up dropping the ball when it came to it. And, here's the thing with Philadelphia is that it does not matter what happens. The Philadelphia Eagles are that type of team, and maybe it's in Philly, and maybe it's obviously the faithful that steps into it. But the Philadelphia Eagles is if you win, Jalen Hurts does not get any of the credit. It's always some other excuse that ends up happening to be where, oh, the defense played great, or oh, they ended up coming back, or oh, they ended up doing this or that, or whatever the case may be. But yet, when the Eagles lose, and this is the first time they did lose, they're 4-1. They lost the first time against, the Denver Broncos team that is a very, very stellar defense, and we'll end up getting to them in a minute. But it ends up being where the entire city of Philadelphia ends up burning to the ground. And it's ridiculous. It really is. Whenever the Eagles lose, it's always a problem. It's always this, it's always that. But then when you have the Eagles win, there's always a scapegoat with it. Oh, your opponent did this. And it should not be the case. The Eagles are still a very good team, and you should not take that away from them. But yet, the entire media, the entire coverage, they still want to do it. Now, the Eagles are obviously struggling on offense, and that is going to be a factor coming into the Thursday night game. They play a New York Giants team that has an incredible defensive front, and that's something that needs to be looked into. However, when it comes to this particular matchup, as much as I hate it being a Giants fan, I'm going to give the Eagles the win in this case just because I do think that they do have the better matchup in this case. Saquon Barkley comes back, the ex-Giant, and I think he ends up going to have a decent game against his old team. I'm going to give the Eagles the win in this case. It's going to be a very disappointing one. I'm going to keep an eye on it closely because I am a Giants fan, but it's going to be very upsetting. After that, you have another international game coming Sunday in London. The Broncos taking on the New York Jets. And let's start off with the obvious. The New York Jets are a mess. You have the first year head coach, you have a quarterback in Justin Fields that's not getting it done, and they are the team that go 0-5. They're the last team to end up winning a game. They still have not won one, and you end up having an 0-5 team first time, in franchise history for the New York Jets to be able to not successfully get a win when it comes to 5 games into the year. They're technically the home team in this case. It does not matter because the game is being played in London. And you have the Denver Broncos, who ended up having an amazing game, especially on the defensive front, in their game against the Philadelphia Eagles. And I love the Broncos in this case. Their defense truly is shining, something that you definitely wanted to see if you're a Broncos fan going into this year. Defense have always been good the last several years. However, I do believe that they have taken the next step. Bo Nix, the quarterback, obviously for the Broncos, has made good strides despite being in his sophomore year for a quarterback position here in the NFL. And he definitely has ended up making a lot of good progress moving forward. He obviously meshes pretty decently with Sean Payton, the head coach for the Denver Broncos. And this one just seems a little bit more obvious to me. I don't like what's going on right now with the New York Jets. I really think that there's a lot more problems. The penalties are an issue. The offense is terrible. Defense is even worse. Don't be fooled with a lot of these scores that the Jets have been involved in. They have not been able to compete. They fall behind extremely early, and a lot of the touchdowns that they end up getting to make the game instead of 35-3, they make the game in 35-21. It's all garbage time. And right now the Jets are really struggling immensely. So I'll give the win to Denver in this case. Obviously, it's a neutral field, so we'll see what ends up happening when it comes to that. But I'll end up giving the win to Denver in this game. After that, you have the Arizona Cardinals taking on the Indianapolis Colts. This one's going to be played in Indy, and the Colts, they do a good bounce back win in their last game, and they end up getting themselves to 4-1. They're tied right now at the top of the division with the Jacksonville Jaguars. Who would have ever suspected that? I did not have that on my bingo card, to be completely honest with you. And then you end up having the Arizona Cardinals, who gifted the win over to the Tennessee Titans last week. This was an absolute mess. The Cardinals had a chance to ice the game 2 times, I believe, and then they ended up doing crucial turnovers And then you have a wide receiver for the Cardinals going into the end zone for a touchdown, and he ends up dropping the ball prematurely before he crosses the end zone or the plane to go into the touchdown. And it's ridiculous. This is a player in the NFL, as well as many of these players, that get paid a lot of money, way more money than your classic person, that warehouse worker, that person, driving, doing all these jobs when it comes to truck drivers, warehouse workers, your McDonald's employees, whatever the case may be. You have these NFL players making millions and millions of dollars, and they can't do something as simple as walking into the end zone without dropping the ball. It is a fucking joke, to say the least. Absolutely a joke. Now, the big controversy behind that is the Arizona head coach hitting the player afterwards. He has been fined $100,000, which to him, let's be honest, a little bit of chump change. But it at least shows discipline to the fact of where you're not supposed to do that. I'm not condoning that. Obviously, hitting another person or another man or whatever the case you want to put, hitting anybody is completely wrong, and that's something that needs to be established, and that's something that needs to be identified immediately and struck down, because that is not something that should happen, and it's not something that is right. However, with that being said, although not condoning that issue, I understand the frustration behind that, because this is somebody who is paid a lot of money to do something, and he is so arrogant, so stupid, whatever you want to call it, to not do his job when there are plenty of other people out there who definitely do their job but still end up getting fired for it. I have no sympathy for what the coach did, because it's an absolute disgusting act to hit another person. I have no sympathy also, though, for the receiver for not performing his duties and being absolute lazy over it. That being said, with that rant out of the way, Daniel Jones for the Indianapolis Colts have played incredible, and I definitely think that this is an easy sort of game. I say that now after we watched the last, week, and we ended up seeing a very different style compared to what we're used to. But in this case, I'm going to go with the Indianapolis Colts with this one, because I do think that they are the better team in this case. It's being played in Indy, and I think that they'll easily be able to overmatch the Arizona Cardinals. After that, you have the Los Angeles Rams playing in Baltimore against the Ravens. And, the big question mark in this game is Lamar Jackson going to play? The Ravens are a very beat up team. They've been crippled with injuries, and all I hear with that is excuses, excuses, excuses. John Harbaugh needs to be doing a lot better job in coaching when it comes to dealing with this type of stuff. It's something that he deals with regularly. This is supposed to be a high powered defense that has not performed. In fact, they played absolutely horrible. They ended up playing the Chiefs last week when they ended up getting demolished. And this is a Chiefs team that has been very crippled with the fact that they have not been able to perform offensively. Their first win came against the New York Giants in week 3 on, I believe it was Sunday Night Football. This is not a good team that really is struggling this year. And they end up getting a Baltimore Ravens team that is playing in a very weak division, and the Ravens still can't perform. And that's a major problem here. And I don't care about the backups that they have in or anything in regards to, the standards that you have set for them. It should be better. They ended up losing 44-10 against the Houston Texans this last week, and it wasn't even close. It was not even close. It was 24-3 at halftime, and it only got worse. And the backup quarterback that they had was Cooper Rush. He's the ex-Cowboy, obviously, for the Baltimore Ravens, and He's a good quarterback. He really is. He's a solid quarterback, but he did not perform. And at the end of the day, you should not have a backup quarterback being able to give you those wins. You should be having somebody that's able to step in and be able to get the job done because they are the starter, because they make all that money, because they end up having that higher standard for them. And that has not been the case for Lamar Jackson. He is a very good regular season quarterback, or regular season quarterback that does not get the job done in the postseason, and he also is crippled with injuries. Now, that is a major problem, and it is something that has plagued him his entire NFL career, and it's continuing now to plague him when it comes to the regular season. He's going to go up against the Los Angeles Rams, and the Rams, they ended up having a really, really horrible game last week on Thursday Night Football against the 49ers. They lost in overtime 26-23, and it was a game that the Rams should have won. It was given to them on a silver platter, and they still failed to end up doing something with it. This was the San Francisco 49ers team that was riddled with injuries from top to bottom, offensively, defensively, it did not matter. And the fact that they still not only gave the 49ers a chance, but was able to have the 49ers win that game in OT it's not good enough. It's not good enough for the standards when it comes to Los Angeles Rams. And it obviously does not start with Matthew Stafford. He went 30 for 47, almost 400 yards, 3 touchdowns. It was not the case when it came to him. Obviously, the rushing game was pretty good. Williams ended up leading the charge when it came to 65 yards on the ground. It was not anything when it came to that. It was a defensive problem. And the defense needs to shape up when it comes to LA. That's just the point blank system. I do think, though, heading into this matchup, they are able to improve a little bit. I know the game is being played in Baltimore. However, I will give the Rams the win in this case on the road. It's something where I'm still on the fence about. I know I picked Houston over Baltimore last week. However, I'm going to go against Baltimore again just because I think they're a very downward trending team. Give me LA in this case. After that, Cleveland Browns taking on the Pittsburgh Steelers. This was being played in Pittsburgh, and Steelers, yes, they have the bye week last week where they ended up getting a little bit more rest, and now they play a Cleveland Browns team with Gabriel. He is the starting quarterback, the rookie this year, and he ended up doing a pretty decent performance. Now, for a rookie, it was really not that bad in, I believe it was London last week against the Vikings. It wasn't good enough for them to get the win, granted. However, it was still not a bad game for them. They lost 21-17. It really was not so much because of him. He kept the ball safe. That is the main thing with this. He did not turn the ball over. He ended up getting 2 passing touchdowns, 190 yards, 19 for 33. That is a classic stat line when it comes to a rookie. And there is nothing wrong with that. There really is not. This was his first game. You've got to give him some slack. I know people are ready to burn down Cleveland as they have been for the past 60, 70 years. However, this is still not a bad game by Gabriel, and we need to end up giving him a little bit of slack. Here's the thing, though, going into this matchup. The Steelers, even though they do have the rest, they do have a couple of injuries, and I'm not completely sold on Aaron Rodgers with the Pittsburgh Steelers. I'm really not. People want to give him a little bit. Oh, he's not with the New York Jets no more, so he might have a little bit of extra leeway when it comes to being able to perform a little bit better. He's got a little bit of help with them. The Pittsburgh Steelers defense is still a mess, and the Cleveland Browns defense is actually pretty damn good. Give me Cleveland in this win. I think Cleveland's able to pull the upset on the road. They're going to take their second win in this one. Give me Cleveland. After that, you have the Seattle Seahawks taking on the Jacksonville Jaguars. Jaguars get a very nice, impressive win at home against the Kansas City Chiefs on Monday Night Football. And, I'm having a little bit more faith when it comes to the quarterback, Trevor Lawrence. And I really think that obviously the defense is starting to hit their strides. Defense come up with a massive interception return for a touchdown for 99 yards. They were able to pick off Patrick Mahomes, and they ended up driving it back the other way. And overall, it was a very, very good, solid win for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Was it pretty? Absolutely not. However, was it enough to get the win? Yes. And that's what matters here in the NFL. Jacksonville Jaguars right now stand at 4-1. Right now, top of the NFL, top of the AFC South division with the Indianapolis Colts. And they're playing against the Seattle Seahawks team where Sam Darnold, for the most part, has ended up, you know, performing. He's actually done pretty darn good when it comes to, these games that he's been set himself over on. The last game he ended up playing, of course, was against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He fell just short in that one. However, it is the Buccaneers. They are a very superior team when it comes to the NFC and how that's playing out. And overall, I want to give the Seahawks a win in this case. I do think that they are the better team. I'm going to give the Seahawks a win. After that, you have the Los Angeles Chargers taking on the Miami Dolphins. And this is going to be a tough one because both teams are just really, really on the downward swing when it comes to this. Chargers dropped their second straight when it comes to games. They lost to the Washington Commanders, second team in a row from the NFC East that they ended up losing to. They lost to the Giants 2 weeks ago, and they end up dropping this game. And this is the same old Chargers that we see constantly, and I'm tired of it. I really am. The Chargers are just the team that's trying to find that magic potion. And you have obviously Harbaugh when it comes to the head coach. You have Justin Herbert, who is supposed to be, the savior. You have the defense that was ranked going into last week as the number one defense, but the Giants' offense, led by Jackson Dart, ends up tearing up that defense. Commanders, with Jaden Daniels returning after injury, does the same damn thing. What do you expect right now from the Chargers? It's a huge question mark going into this game. And I'm concerned right now. Not only if you're a Chargers fan, I'm just concerned in general. And they end up playing the Miami Dolphins. Miami Dolphins drop a 17-point lead against the Carolina Panthers, which we'll get to in a minute. And it's not looking good. It's not good for the coach, McDaniel. It's not good for Tua, the quarterback. It's not good for a defense that's been absolutely torn to freaking shreds. And it's just going to be a tough game. It's going to be hard to watch if you're a viewer. I'm going to give the LA Chargers the win. I think they definitely get back in the win column only because they're playing a horrible Miami Dolphins team. Give me the Chargers. After that, Dallas Cowboys taking on the Carolina Panthers. This one's going to be played in Carolina. Carolina's been known to be I guess, okay home team, as horrible as the Panthers are. They play pretty well in Charlotte, North Carolina, compared to when they end up playing on the road. And they'll play the Dallas Cowboys. Dallas Cowboys absolutely dismantled the New York Jets. And the offense is showing to be very good under Dak Prescott. Even though he does not have CeeDee Lamb, the Dallas Cowboys definitely have shown to have some good strides with that offense. They have Ferguson right there when it comes to the tight end situation. And I do think they does give enough options for Dak Prescott to throw to. They're going to play against the Carolina Panthers, which honestly had no business winning last week. They really didn't. They ended up coming back, and I give them a lot of credit when it comes to that. I still don't believe in that defense. I still don't believe in Bryce Young. I still don't believe in anything that they're doing. I know it bit me in the ass last week when it came to the Panthers ended up pulling up a good win against Miami. However, I'm going to go with Dallas in this case. I think Dallas is just in general the better team. And again, I just think that Dallas has enough firepower in the tank when it comes to offensively. Defense is still suspect. However, offensively, if they're able to do what they've been doing the last several weeks when it came to Green Bay in week 4, when it comes to the Jets in week 5, I trust the offense a lot better to be able to take care of the Carolina Panthers, even though it's being played in Carolina. Give me the Dallas Cowboys. After that, you have New England Patriots coming off a huge win against the Buffalo Bills, against the New Orleans Saints. Both of these teams actually came off with good wins, and I'm fairly impressed. I really am. Saints coming off of a very good performance against the New York Giants. They ended up getting 5 turnovers, 3 fumbles, 2 interceptions, as I mentioned earlier. And the New England Patriots, they get a first interception off of Josh Allen, the Buffalo Bills. Very, very impressive from this team. And overall, the Patriots are a little bit more of a dark horse going into not only the AFC East but in the AFC in general. Obviously, they have a lot more work to be done. I don't see them as a major playoff team moving forward. However, they do get the luxury of having an easier schedule being playing against, fourth place opponents. They play the Saints this week. They'll play the Giants another week. They'll play a lot more easier opponents, and that really does matter when it comes to whether or not they'll be able to perform in those situations. And in this case, I do like what I saw out of Spencer Rattler when it came to the New Orleans Saints. I'm entitled to pick the Saints again. However, I'm gonna go with the New England Patriots in this one. I do think they're running a little bit more high off the game or off of their win against Buffalo compared to when the Saints ended up beating, my shitty New York Giants team. End up giving me the Patriots in this one. After that, oh good lord. You have the Tennessee Titans taking on the Las Vegas Raiders. This is going to be a tickle fight, ladies and gentlemen, and nobody wins in this one. I don't care who the winner is. Everybody loses. If you're watching this game, you're still going to lose because nobody wants to watch this game. I feel bad for the people in Nashville, Tennessee, and Las Vegas, Nevada because they're not watching a good game. You just got nothing else to do on a Sunday afternoon. The Titans, they got their first win last week against the Arizona Cardinals only because the Cardinals basically gave them the game. The Raiders get absolutely bludgeoned to death 40-3 by the Indianapolis Colts, and it's not getting better. Geno Smith is a turnover machine, and he just continues to throw interception after interception. I'm not even talking one interception. I'm talking multiple interceptions every single game. This is your starting quarterback, ladies and gentlemen. Not even not no coaching staff can fix this. Not even Corral can fix this when it comes to the Raiders, and it's only getting worse. The advantage with this, though, is that they play with a Tennessee team that is still so underdeveloped. It's ridiculous. Cam Ward, don't give him the credit for this. He did not do anything last week. Nothing at least impressive, in my opinion. I'm gonna go with the Raiders in this one. They are at home. This again. Nobody wins in this case. I wouldn't be surprised if Tennessee wins this one, but the Raiders, I'll give them the win this case. I gave them the win in week 1, and I was correct about that when they played a very undeveloped New England Patriots team. If the matchup happened again, I would pick the Patriots over the Raiders, but I think the Raiders will have the opportunity of being able to take advantage of a very underdeveloped Tennessee Titans team, and I think that's the only way they're able to get wins. Give me the Raiders in this case. Yuck. After that, you have San Francisco 49ers taking on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Tampa Bay doing a very good job and ended up winning a nice little shootout against the Seattle Seahawks. San Francisco pulls off the amazing road win in overtime against the Los Angeles Rams. This one, again, I'm going to be a little quick with this one. I do think that the Bucks are going to be able to get the win in this one, just because I think that they're a little bit more put together. They have a better offensive core when it comes to the receiving and the passing game. I think they definitely do have a little bit of a better defense when it comes to San Francisco as well. The game is also being played in Tampa Bay. I do like the Bucks in this one. I think that the 49ers do need a little bit more of a chance. I think they could definitely win inside their own division. However, I'm worried when it comes to the injuries. I know I said that last week and ended up biting me in the ass when it came to Thursday Night Football against the Rams. I don't think that the 49ers are going to be able to end up pulling out a good win in this case against them. Give me the Bucks in this case. It's going to be a tough one, I know. It's probably going to bite me in the ass, but give me the Bucks. After that, Bengals and Packers. This one being played in Green Bay. Packers coming off with the bye week that they did have, and the Bengals getting their shiny new quarterback or older quarterback when it comes to Joe Flacco. The trade being done this week in regards to the Bengals and the Cleveland Browns. Quarterback being traded within the division. That's very interesting. Does not happen often. But Joe Flacco's been named the starting quarterback right now for the Bengals when Browning just could not get it done. Browning, of course, struggled when it came to his performance again for the Cincinnati Bengals, and it's just something that needs to be improved upon, especially with a Bengals team that's looking to get better and trying to make a push, even though they don't have their quarterback in Joe Burrow. They lost their game 37-24 against the Detroit Lions. And it was just overall not an impressive performance. Jake Browning goes 26 for 40 with 251 yards. Don't be fooled by that. He does throw 3 touchdowns, but he also throws 3 interceptions. And he's their own worst enemy when it comes to the offensive standpoint of the Cincinnati Bengals. And it's something that needs to be looked upon. And it's something that I think ultimately needs to happen moving forward if this team wants to be successful. Now, in regards to the trade, a lot of people look at this as a very early, interesting trade. To me, it's nothing. This is a team in the Cleveland Browns that need to open up their quarterback room a lot more. And it's a team in the Cincinnati Bengals that need to do something this year to try to prove that they are relevant, and it ends up working out for both teams because they both somewhat get what they want, kind of. I don't like the trade. I think it's just useless, in my opinion. If Joe Flacco ends up becoming very successful with the Cincinnati Bengals, good for him. And if the Browns ended up, looking at better things with Gabriel as their rookie quarterback, then good for them as well. They also have Sanders on the bench, too, another rookie for them, and we'll see from there what ends up happening. When it comes to the Green Bay Packers, they come off of 2 weeks ago when they end up tying against the Dallas Cowboys. Overall, it's not impressive for Green Bay, and this was a team that was supposed to build up their defense. It was supposed to be a lot better for them, and it just overall has not been very good for them. And I'm concerned right now when it comes to Packers, when it comes to, the defensive, side of things, because this was supposed to be a lot better of a team that was supposed to help out Jordan Love on the offensive side of things, and it has not happened. You end up playing against Dallas Cowboys team, although the offense, of course, was good, and you can only ask so much from them. It just does not end up proving to be very fruitful for this team, and it's something that I do have major concerns going in. Now, here's the thing: when it comes to this particular matchup, I'll give the win to Green Bay because I do think that they are the better team. They're also playing at home. However, I'm just not overall impressed right now with the Green Bay Packers. I think they end up getting a sloppy win in this case, but still, nonetheless, give me Green Bay. After that, Detroit Lions going on the road. They're going to play the Kansas City Chiefs. The Chiefs are not the same old Chiefs. That's obvious. They end up losing their last game. I think it was 31, 31-28 against the Jacksonville Jaguars. And the Chiefs are not the same old team. Patrick Mahomes is not the same old quarterback. Kelsey is not doing too well. They end up getting a little bit more help in the receiving core. However, it is not enough to end up giving them the win. And it shows. This is an offense that is struggling. This is a defense that they rely heavily on. And if the defense does not get the job done, then it's still an issue. And they play against a Detroit Lions team that has an explosive offense. They did very well against the Cincinnati Bengals last week, dropping 37 points on them. They have already dropped over 50 points against the Chicago Bears, which we'll get to in a minute. They are just an overall explosive offense. And at the end of the day, I can't go against the Detroit Lions. They're 4-1. They dropped their first game. They ended up winning the next four games that they ended up having. And they've won against different style opponents. Some that are more defensively strong, some that are more offensively strong, some of them that are just overall a better team, maybe, than them at the moment. However, the Detroit Lions are still a better team than the Kansas City Chiefs. At least that's in my opinion. I'm going to give the Detroit Lions the win on the road in this case. This is Sunday Night Football. It's going to be played in prime time. I know everybody's going to be looking at Taylor Swift and all that other garbage. Who the fuck cares? Give me Detroit Lions in this one. After that, you have the Buffalo Bills taking on the Atlanta Falcons. Atlanta Falcons coming off the bye as well for this team. And these last couple games ended up having a couple teams that have been on the bye, so they get that extra rest. I don't like the week 5 bye. I think it's a little bit too early for some of these teams. You play 4 games and immediately end up getting the bye. But however, if that's something the NFL does it, I mean, there's only so much I can do. I don't like it. However, it definitely is something that is kind of lackluster in my opinion. They'll play the Buffalo Bills. The Buffalo Bills struggle and they have a horrible loss at home against New England Patriots. It's a bad loss. It really is. There's nothing more to really be said about it. Josh Allen did not play good. He ended up throwing his first pick of the season. They are just absolutely bludgeoned when it comes to penalties, and that is a major, major issue. They need to keep the penalties down, and it's something that has been a huge problem when it comes to the Buffalo Bills, and it's something that has plagued them in multiple games. However, it has not contributed to a loss because they have played weaker opponents. It did not end up helping them when it came to New England Patriots, who ended up sticking it to them, and they made sure that every penalty that the Buffalo Bills committed, it ended up mattering. And that is the key thing when it comes to this status. And in this case, I still trust the Buffalo Bills to be able to get the job done, especially on the road. Give me the Bills in this case for the first Monday night game, and we'll see from there. After that, you have the Chicago Bears off of the bye on the road against the Washington Commanders. Commanders got Jaden Daniels back. They ended up having a very impressive win against the Chargers team in LA, no less. I know the Chargers, in LA, they don't get a lot of fans. However, they still end up getting a very impressive win, the Commanders do, and they end up proving themselves at 3-2. That it matters when it comes to a division, especially when you have the Philadelphia Eagles who lost last week. They edge a little bit closer in the standings. Obviously, Commander fans are going to be the biggest New York Giants fans tonight against the Giants in Thursday Night Football. However, they end up having their own game Monday Night Football at home against the Chicago Bears. I don't believe in the Bears. I really don't. I know Caleb Williams had performed very good. He ended up having a 2-game winning streak going into the bye. However, I think the Commanders are just going to be a little bit too much for them. Give me the Commanders in this win for the second game of Monday Night Football. It's going to be a close one. I'm not saying that's not going to be. However, I still trust the Commanders in this game. So that'll do it here for our week 6 predictions. Let me know what you guys think down here in the comments. Let me know what you guys are your favorite teams, and let me know what your picks are. If you like what you hear, feel free to subscribe. It definitely will help me out a lot. My name is Doc Klugman, and you guys have a good night.